Hello. So nice to see you. And we have some stuff on our agenda. So first, we want to elect a new chair. And second, we want to discuss where we will held our conference next year, what kind of topic, and the location as well. As you probably read the emails, we suggested Berlin, but this is still open. If you have any other suggestions, so please feel free and say it. Okay, so I don't really know whether we have to approve the last minutes from 2 years ago, Thorsten.
Well, I don't have them prepared right now, so that's not possible right now.
So that is from our list, from the agenda.
And then maybe Victoria, maybe in relation to the minutes, do you keep minutes for this meeting as well, Thorsten?
I will take notes, yes.
Okay, great.
Yeah, so we are already at the next topic on our agenda. We want to vote a new chair. Anna is stepping down. So thank you so much for your work. And it was a pleasure working with you.
Yeah, thank you. And I remember especially my years as a secretary. So good luck for a new secretary, but also for a new co-chair. Thank you so much.
Thank you. But we have a new candidate. And this is Alessandro. It was a suggestion by the board, but we also got emails saying that they would suggest Alessandro as a candidate. So, Alessandro, would you like to tell us a bit about you and what you're doing, your research topics, and so on and so forth? Kind of 5 minutes?
Yes.
And to convince us to vote on you, of course.
Yes.
Oh, no.
I mean, this is democracy, as I said.
I haven't really prepared anything. So hello, everybody. Thank
Alessandro,
you.
don't worry. You already won. There's no second candidate,
Let's make it this. Let's make this right. So I'm. I think I do need to present myself a little bit, just a few minutes, and also because, as Istvan said, we have been having some meetings here in Prague in the last couple of days, so that's also why I haven't really prepared anything structured. The other thing is that the other reason why I haven't is that this candidacy is very young. It was born basically a few days ago, and it emerged a bit out of nowhere, even though I've been part of the working group for a long time, I think 9 or 8 years, basically since the very beginning of my academic journey, when I was a PhD student. So I know the working group rather well. I know I've also witnessed and experienced the changes in vision, in leadership, or rather direction given by the former board chairs and secretaries. And I think I can say I've always had very friendly relationship with everybody. And as we know very well, the best time that we have spent together so far has been at the conferences, normally. However, this has not happened this year, unfortunately. And so I also think that one of the topics I would like to bring to the fore is that of, let's do it again as soon as possible. Let's meet up. Let's do a proper conference. This is something I would be working on as the co-chair, along with Victoria, organizing another conference. As for myself, I've been working on religion, religiosity, and the many other names that this phenomena have taken in the scholarship in the last couple of centuries: re-enchantment, secularization, desecularization, magic, and whatnot, for quite a few years. My background is as a historian mostly, and then I switched to the fabulous world of ethnology and anthropology a few years after the completion of my historical formation. And I've been working at the crossroads, or rather have been trying to to merge these two perspectives, the historical one and the ethnological, anthropological one, ever since. And my research interests have been quite wide. I might say I've been working on several topics, but what I've been focusing on in the last couple of years, some of you might have noticed my edited volume for Ethnologia Europea about the reconfiguration, refunctionalization of notions of tradition, or the reconstruction and reinterpretation of the past in the form of historicity or tradition making or heritage making. So this has been one of my main interests in the last few years, but also religiosity in the Central Eastern European area, however we define or boundary it, and also in Southern Europe. I am myself Italian, but I did a long field work in Catalonia for several years. I also lived in France. So I've been exposed to different traditions of studies, but also different fieldwork and regional variations and flares. And I think that has also impacted my way of seeing things and doing ethnology quite significantly. But in the last few years, as I said, I've been working on religion in the so-called post-socialist Central Eastern or Central European milieu or macro context. I'm currently also leading this ERC-CZ project, where I also have some great associates that happen to be here today. I did not expect this. We did not really talk about this yesterday, but so Istvan, Susanna, Agata, and from different Central Eastern European countries. And but I do not want to put too much focus on this. This is the ethnology of religion. There are so many regions in Europe, in the world, obviously. That is a rather self-evident and obvious statement. And I also I think that with Victoria we would I hopefully try to avoid a sort of Central European centric perspective and vision in the future or about the future of the working group. No, definitely not. There's so much to be researched about, to be looking forward to, and perhaps next conference could also take place somewhere else. I personally voted for Berlin back in 2019 in Santiago at last board meeting. So that's just to spend a word about this before we dig into the topic further. And otherwise, feel free to drop a line, to write to me. I would be glad to get to know better those of you that I don't know yet. And at the moment, there are just like few of you, because I'm gladly already acquainted with many of you in this virtual room. And yes, and I would be glad and would be honored to be co-chair of this working group. But of course, it is up to you. So thank you for listening to me. Enjoy the meeting, and hopefully see you in person and not only electronically in the near future.
Thank you so much, Alessandro, for this nice and interesting speech and convincing speech for me. So,
and Victoria, if I may add something which Alessandro did not mention, is the fact that he is editing with Tobias the upcoming volume of the SIEF series on Lied Verlag. So he's doing that, and it will hopefully come out until the end of the year. So I wanted to say that.
Yeah, thank you, Clara. I didn't mention many important things, that this is one of the most important maybe.
Thank you. Again, are there any questions or remarks? Now is the time for questions.
Or criticism.
No criticism at this time. Sorry, this is too early.
Yeah, too early in the Saturday morning.
For a Saturday, it's very early, yeah. But look, I think that one of the things that Alessandro mentioned, I think it's something that is on the OT for today, which is discussing the upcoming, the next conferences of the working group, etc. Depending on, of course, we are all we all need to see how this stupid pandemic goes. But so I think that one of the things Alessandro didn't mention is anyway going to be discussed by the group, right, Victoria?
Yeah, we have to discuss it with the group.
Well, he did mention it, but I mean, we need to discuss it together.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. I may have a remark, Victoria, that maybe it's good to make clear that he stands up for a board membership and not for chair, because I think you mentioned in the beginning that he would be elected as chair, but as a board member, and that the rest of the board membership remains the same. Is it like that? So, and does everybody knows the board also? Because I see different new faces. Is everybody aware of who is actually the board of the? Yeah, that's clear to anyone. Okay.
Good question. Yeah.
No,
so shall we introduce ourselves again?
No, but I was wondering. I see faces I haven't seen before, but that may be due to my ignorance or whatever. That who I didn't see in Santiago, I believe. But so actually, it is also that Alessandro stands up for board membership. That Thorsten remains the secretary. It is.
But I thought Alessandro was running for vice chair because Victoria is the chair, who is now the vice chair.
Yeah.
Who is the vice chair? Because Anna
I
was
am stepping down from the board. So Victoria is co-chair. We don't have vice chairs. We have co-chairs.
First
and currently is secretary. As far as I remember, Clara and Peter Jan are members of the board.
Yes, but
and I think that's all.
But normally there are two co-chairs. So who's the other co-chair? That's my question.
Victoria.
No, but
co-chair means... And today we are deciding about who is stepping, on my place as a board
that's
member
what I'm saying.
Co-chair.
So do we, that's my question, Anna. Do we have a candidate to be co-chair?
I think that would be
first thing is to select
Alessandro. I think that would be Alessandro.
No, Clara. The idea is that we decide who steps into the board on my place, and then we need to decide what is the structure of the new board. So who is new co-chairs? So first thing is to vote for a member of the board, I would say, or suggest. Then decide about the structure. So,
but isn't the structure always decided intra the board and not in a plenary way? I thought so, but
I think so. So. It was like that. So
but we can also make it democratic and and discuss it here. I don't know. It's up to the chair. I personally
think stepping down. So
as a board member, I really think it's very good to have two co-chairs because it's important to share the dialogue and the work. It's very important instead of just falling on top of one person. So
it's not only good; it's obligatory.
Yes, right. So
why don't we keep it simple and say we vote for the co-chair, and that also means that Alessandro is a member of the board. So we have one election.
It's much easier.
Yes, I think that's a very good and pragmatic choice. So I just noted that my chat was deactivated. So we have no other choice than to vote with the hands. So, or I don't know, Dani, is that already a vote or... Oh, okay. So we can surely do it also with those little icons, whatever you prefer. So then the clapping hand is, for candidacy. This is also, Peter Jan shows it very well how to do it. So let's vote. So Alessandro candidates for the co-chair as well as for the board. So yes. If you agree, so just raise your hand.
Or do the thumb, either way.
Yeah, do the thumb.
Both ways. I suppose,
I suppose Amare is it's okay. I see. So Alessandro
He's elected.
I'm overwhelmed.
Congratulations. That is, I don't know what the term in English is. Einstimmig? What is it?
There is a unanimity.
Unanimity. You see that, that really is a vote for you.
So I'm overwhelmed. Thank you very much for this warm and actually quite smooth transition. And thank you. I'm glad and honored, as I said. Thank you very much.
And again, thank you for your
Those
candidacy.
large responsibilities, Alessandro. So
Yes.
Wishing you good luck.
Yeah.
Thank
A
you.
lot of weight on your shoulders now.
Everything will work out.
Sorry, Victoria, on our shoulder.
Yes, well, yes, on our shoulders. We have to share that really equally. So otherwise it's problematic. Okay, so that topic is done as well. So we have a new co-chair, which is great. Again, Anna, thank you. And now we move on. We move on to our next topic. And that would be first of all, the location for next year's conference. And as I wrote in an email, we would suggest for next year, Berlin. And I just would say the floor is now ours to discuss either other locations or agree or, whatever. So there we go. We suggested on the board, from the board is, the suggestion from the board is Berlin. And now the floor is ours to discuss it. What is your opinion on it?
May I, Victoria?
Yeah.
Okay. I think perhaps since we do have new people here, actually, we should have done very quick rounds of 1 minute each person, just so that people present themselves. Because as Peter Jan remarked, there are indeed a few new people. But besides that, going to the topic that you were mentioning now, I think perhaps since there are new people, you should make a very quick 1 minute history of the possibilities that we discussed in Santiago, and the fact that due to the pandemic, of course, it all went down the drain. But the fact that we probably cannot do it next year in Jerusalem as it was planned for last year, due to several practical reasons, but we have not totally given up that hypothesis for an upcoming one, right? Am I correct?
Yeah. So
May I add a little footnote, please? I would also like to stress, some of us might have noticed that there are fewer people than one of our usual past board and working group meetings. Sorry, not board, but working group meetings. And that, I think it should be highlighted that this was quite unfortunate. I already discussed this with Victoria. Like on a Saturday morning in Western Europe, 9 a.m., and in the US and in North America, this is also
the middle of the night.
It's in the middle of the night, and we have people from there as well, and also other parts of the world. I don't know why they put us at 10:30 Estonian and Finnish time, which is also quite unpractical in Western Europe on a Saturday morning. And
but you know why they did it? They did it because they are doing all the CF goes according to Helsinki schedule, which I think is a bit strange since we are, only the people from are in Helsinki.
But in that case, I've noticed that there are no working groups at like 4 or 5 in the afternoon, which would have been much better for many of us and also for our non-European colleagues.
You are right.
And it's a pity because now we have to take important decisions and there are fewer people than expected. Just wanted to add that there is a lack of representativity that maybe should also be taken into consideration. But what can we do? We have to take decisions anyway.
Yeah, well, for me it was 8 a.m. But the bad thing is that since there's lockdown, we cannot be in restaurants or anywhere after 10. So you have to go to bed early anyway.
Oh, but that's a Portuguese exception in Europe at the moment because
I know. It was football. It was the British and the cup, whatever, stupid football that did this. Anyway, go ahead. So
Well, I think we cannot change the schedule now. So, well, it's not representative. And yet we can always send an email and ask again. And I know, and it's always not representative in a way, because not all people show up at the working group meeting. So let's discuss the location, please. And maybe, and that's a good suggestion from Clara. Last year, we wanted to meet in Jerusalem. And out of the pandemic, we had to cancel our conference. And so for next year, we decided maybe we meet at another place, simply because I will be working in Berlin. So it would be very easy kind of to organize the meeting and to have also the infrastructure there. And I know the people there from the university and from other departments. So it would be an easy way to organize. And then we'd also discussed that maybe in 2024 that we consider Jerusalem again. So, and I also wrote to Dani, and we explained it, that we actually thought that next year Berlin would be maybe in a way easier to organize, but I don't know, Dani, I hope you are not so disappointed. And it was also because I have to say, at the time we made the decision and we noticed that, the situation in Jerusalem and in other places were not so, were quite difficult. So I was wondering, if it would be at this time the right decision. So Dani, you want to say something?
I'm totally fine. Look, for me, it's a headache to organize a conference anyway. And right now, I'm really lacking any 25 hours a day. And of course, Jerusalem is unpredictable.
Yeah.
Indeed, a month ago, it was that. Mind you, it's still the same. Immer noch. It's never going to really change in the near-sighted future. But anyway, so, I mean, Go Berlin, go. I mean, fine.
Yeah, but it is only a suggestion. And as we said, if you have other locations you would like to suggest and throw in, please feel free to do so. Thank you, Dani.
May I?
Yeah, Clara.
Well, okay. My opinion is, of course, Berlin is always excellent. But I would really not, first of all, not give up on Jerusalem. I think the idea of doing it in Jerusalem with our colleague is a very interesting one, not only because the colleagues are willing, and especially Dan is willing to do it, but also all the reasons we discussed in Santiago, which is the symbolic aspect of Jerusalem. I think it would be very interesting for a group on religion to meet up in Jerusalem.
Of course.
Now, as far as what Danny says, of course, that Jerusalem is unfortunately always a problem. I mean, it's an area of the world where problems are not going to end unless we are taken up by Martians. So I don't know. I really don't know. I know that we took this decision based on what was going on a month ago. But how is it going to be a year from now? I mean, Jerusalem is always contingent. So I don't know if we should really just, I mean, we've decided Berlin, but we are discussing this here as a group. So I don't know. I'm just, throwing to the floor this question: should we really do it in Berlin, which is of course always easier, or really try to do it in Jerusalem if Dani is willing to try it next year? I think we have two problems here, of course, which is the general pandemic one, and then the specific case of Jerusalem.
I may explain how things are. I mean, I don't mind. I mean, it's a possibility, and it's a possibility that does not need too much of preparation from what I can see. When we had the plan before the pandemic, we actually, the venue was not supposed to be the university. I actually did not want it to be in the university. I wanted it to be in a former leprosy, actually founded by a Palestinian folklorist, was a German Lutheran kind of organization from the 19th century. And the idea was actually doing it there. It kind of connects in various ways. And my colleague was basically, it's like an art center, and he was prepared to give us the venue just for free. So that was, and that I don't need to prepare that, okay? So, I mean, I don't mind even if, I don't need such a lot of preparation time for a small meeting. And it seems anyway that it's going to be a small meeting. So I would put it this way. If the group wishes to meet there in Jerusalem, we have to think of the date. The dates are much more difficult than the location. And the location, as you said, I love the idea of Martians. I think that's probably one of the best solutions I've heard in a long time. So yeah, I mean, up to you people. I mean, let me put it that way. I'm not a side here, in a sense. I mean, just take your decision. You're welcome whenever you come. Even if you come alone, you're welcome. If you come as a group, you're welcome. Everything is fine.
May I say something, please? I'm afraid there is probably only one way to get around this, or to get through it, rather, which is to put this to vote, as we did 2 years ago. And I think we all agree on this. There are good arguments for both of them. And I will abstain because I have a clear conflict of interest. I love Berlin and I would be very glad to be there, but I never visited Jerusalem. So in that case, my judgment would be biased because I really want to go there also for touristic reasons.
But you don't have to abstain. You don't have to abstain because of that, Alessandro. It's all together. When we decide on a location for a meeting, is all together. I mean, we are humans, and now we are humans in lack of trips. So okay. Come on.
I will vote for them both.
Yeah, but you can't.
Abstaining.
I'm sorry, you cannot vote for both. I mean, I'm also I appreciate both ideas, but you cannot vote for both. You have to make.
Don't put me in this situation now, Clara.
Oh, come on! We all have to do it. So,
well, yeah. I think it's a good decision to vote on it if there's no other suggestion for a location. Because, of course, we could discuss again Berlin versus Jerusalem, but we exchange our ideas on that already. So 1 point for Berlin would still be that some people at the last conference said that it is easier to reach for them and it's not so much hassle. So that would be a point for Berlin again. But let's vote on this. And I put in the chat Berlin, yes, would be a plus and no would be a minus. And then we vote for Jerusalem. Would that be fine for you?
But is it on the chat, Victoria, that we vote?
Yes, I haven't sent it yet because I'm not sure whether we should first vote for one city or the other, or if we...
We can do it together.
No? May I? Because I think this comes also a little bit imperative to us and to the whole working group. We are just talking about these two cities. I think we should now decide on where it will be held next, but also ask in a plenary way if there are any other suggestions, because we haven't asked the other members if there are any other.
I asked. The floor is open. Please, any other suggestion?
But shouldn't they first make a written proposition with the whole plan of the conference and more details? Because just the location doesn't seem to, right now we're supposed to vote only on the location. There's just one variable of many others.
But I think in that case, Victoria would be basically organizing in Berlin and Dani in Jerusalem. So this would be their responsibility as much.
I understand, but I would like to read more before being able to vote.
But Irina, we've always done it this way, that we decide on the location, and we also normally in the meetings, if you remember, decide on the theme, okay? We've always decided on the location and the theme, and then the conveners of the conference have to do the rest, which is present as a small summary. That's it.
Okay, but I wouldn't be able to vote this way. I mean, it's like Berlin or Jerusalem. In an ideal world, I would love to go to Jerusalem, but it depends on so many factors.
But what do you mean?
The choice is up now for 22 Berlin and 24 Jerusalem. So I think maybe we are a little bit going too fast, because I think it's not well to do, as we have already explained, that we are now with a relatively small amount of members here together. I would think we discussed the democratic value of this meeting. So let's not decide on 24 already. I think
no, then it's not a choice. It's just the first one is Berlin. The second one is in 24 will be Jerusalem.
No, I mean, we don't decide on 2024. That was just what I was telling you, the story, the way we discussed it, and whether we could go in 24 for Jerusalem. And I think any suggestions for the location, it's also good to have just a location and not consider the topic. But, every location would appear very interesting, no matter what kind of topic you have. And you can discover the city or the location through this topic. I think to have a kind of serendipity here would be just fine.
Yeah, but Peter Jan, we are 20. I'm checking. We are 23 in the meeting, which is not so little.
No,
number.
You're right, Clara. Even though there would be theoretically a better methodological way to go through this, and very, very easy, which is to do a doodle with Jerusalem, Berlin, sent over to all the members. And in 2 days, you might have all the votes, basically, from the working group.
Okay.
This is a bit more organizationally a headache, because the doodle must be done, it must be written.
And it's more democratic in the sense that you get the people from the US to vote, etc. And the other thing also is that, okay, like I can remember when we decided on, where Fabio did it. Where was it? In Italy. Where were we?
It was in Italy, actually.
In Siena. When we did that in the meeting, I remember very well. I can't remember which CF Congress it was, but we discussed right there in the meeting, not only the fact that it was Siena, but we discussed the topic, okay? Now, I think that if we have up to now 2 possibilities, like Victoria said, other people can pitch in and say, okay, we want to do it in our city. But if we have choices, we can, first of all, I think we can have plan A, plan B. Imagine most people or the majority votes for Jerusalem, okay? It's a problematic site. We can always have a plan B, which is, okay, let's see 6 months before how things are. And for instance, Berlin could be a plan B, okay? That's my first suggestion. My second suggestion is that it is interesting to discuss in our working group meeting the topic, but the fact is that probably here, if it is Jerusalem, it will be one topic, and if it is Berlin, it might be another one. I don't know. I'll ask Victoria and Danny here, but I don't know. What do you think? Or should we just choose a topic already?
I think that it makes little sense in that, because people they write a paper. And if they write a paper towards a topic, depends on how flexible people are. It can be 2 topics. I remember the previous topic for Jerusalem was actually, initially not something that you would actually associate with Jerusalem, Abrahamic religions or whatever. It was not about that. It was about environment and religion. It can always be connected, but I think that it makes things very difficult for those who actually present papers if we don't think of a topic. So
I think the topic of environment and religion, which we had decided upon, would suit both Jerusalem and Berlin. And it's now, it's a problem that is now being discussed widely by social sciences, not only. So I would stick to that, but I think it's for the board.
One thing about plan A, plan B, unfortunately in Jerusalem, in the entire area, things usually ignite overnight. You don't know about that 6 months before, you know about that two hours or 2 days that things are boiling up and erupting. So,
I know.
I'm sorry, but I find it a very confusing discussion, actually, because what I recall from the board is that some months ago we have been discussing this topic as well, and then we decided to anyhow postpone Jerusalem due to the present tensions in Israel, to postpone that to 2024. So I do not understand why it's on the agenda now, or on slate for election, actually. So I'm a little bit confused, but maybe I missed something.
There is also another thing, Peter Jan. Maybe I'm also, for pragmatic reasons, I also lean more for Berlin, and also not only because it was discussed and voted upon also during the last. As I said, as much as I would love to go to Jerusalem during the last working group meeting, but also because given the pandemic situation, which is still a big question mark.
But that was decided on the board, so you weren't in the board then yet. No. So you couldn't have known it yet.
No. But I knew that Berlin was voted 2 years ago.
Well,
and then you discussed this because it was voted before.
Yeah, but also because we as board have discussed it before this meeting on how to proceed. I recall discussing that with you, Victoria, if you recall it as well, that it wouldn't anyhow be a good decision to put Berlin for vote now, but only in a later moment for 2024. But maybe. That's why I find it confusing, this whole discussion now.
And another point, the point I wanted to make is that here, let's be pragmatic and realistic. We are mostly from Europe at the moment, and Berlin is much easier to reach, even in case of travel restrictions, because it can be easily reached by train or by car even. From many European countries by train at the end of the day. That's also something that many do. They prefer to travel by train. Jerusalem, it would entail another layer of complexity, given the current uncertainty.
The problem is always there, Alessandro. I mean, Jerusalem is not going to change space, the region where it is. So Jerusalem is the spot that always causes that problem. For the pandemic, I don't know, because as you know, Israel is much better than most of the other countries, but we don't know what's going to happen with the pandemic. When they restrict more air travel, it's true. But I think the situation of Jerusalem is not going to change. It's not because
Yeah, you're very right, Clara. My basic point was that Berlin is Schengen, and at the moment we are mostly in Schengen here. That's my being pragmatic. And we can travel more easily to Berlin than to Jerusalem in general. You don't need a visa. Some people don't even have a passport anymore because they don't go outside of Europe. You need a visa. There are other complications. If you have visited some of our Arabic countries, you might not get a visa. Danny, can you confirm this? For example, Iran. If someone visited Iran or visited other, not only Arabic, but
No, the problem is the reverse. If you have a stamp on your passport, then you would not be able to go into Iran. If you visited Iran, you can visit here. That's not an issue.
Okay.
But you may, of course, be asked what you did in Iran, whatever. But it's in the same way. When I go to the United Kingdom and then they saw that I had the stamp of, mind you, the Czech Republic, I went for a 2-hour interrogation in England. So anything can happen in these things. I mean, what did it do in Prague for a month? I mean, I had to give a whole story.
That could be ethnographically interesting. So
super interesting.
Okay. So if I now summarize this discussion, I would say we could have we could now kind of not vote for either Berlin or Jerusalem, and then again have a doodle, and I would send it around and set a deadline, and then we see what the majority is voting for, and because we now exchange our opinions on that. And so why don't we do it that way? That I now send through the chat the question, either Berlin or Jerusalem, and you write Jerusalem or Berlin. I mean, it's not anonymous. I don't know. We cannot do it in another way now. And then again, so we have a kind of what the mood is here of these people here in this group. And then again, I prepare a doodle asking either Jerusalem or Berlin for next year. So why don't we do it that way? Because we're now going, I think, a bit in a circle. shall we have like a first kind of vote to say the mood of the group here? And then I sent around a doodle, and then the deadline would be the end of next week.
And another thing, Victoria, could be that the vote is done now. We vote for this, and then the board takes the vote into consideration and decides afterwards according to other criteria and circumstances as well. Because
we could do that.
It is the board that decides in any case, because of organizational reasons as well.
Yeah, but the doodle was your idea, so I thought.
I know. Just to take into consideration the voice and the opinion of the entire working group, but then deciding within.
But Alessandro, it does not have to be the board that decides. To be democratic, it's not the board.
I also agree with that.
What we did in the last months or so, or 2 months, was to discuss this within the board. So within the board, we said, okay, Berlin is better. But we also said, okay, let's take it up to the working group meeting. So that's what we're doing now. My thing is, I think that if we do vote now just to have the opinion of the people in this meeting, then it's a sort of a consultation vote. It's not a vinculative vote, right? It's just to have an opinion. But then the doodle has to be sent to everyone, and it's an anonymous vote, and everybody has to vote. This is just a consultation vote. It's not, otherwise it doesn't make sense to have people here in the meeting voting presentially, and then to have a doodle anonymous sent to everyone.
But the doodle was just a suggestion, huh? We can also do without the doodle. We could also, this was just a thing that I threw.
Alessandro, to reach everyone that is not here today, for instance, our colleagues in the US, you do need to do the doodle and have an electronic vote. Otherwise, you're not going to have everybody.
I proposed this. No, I totally agree with you. It's just that we never did it before. So this would also be,
We never had meetings like this before either, because we were all together. So.
So I now wrote Berlin or Jerusalem in 2022, and I now send it around in the chat. And you either write Berlin or Jerusalem, and I try to count. And Thorsten, please, could you count as well? So I might miscount the votes, and Okay, so it's now coming, and please.
But Victoria, just to make clear, then in the minutes, you have to write that this vote was a consultation, the people in the meeting, and that there will be a voting through doodle to every one of the working group, right? Okay. All right. Thank you.
Has everybody voted? If you don't want to vote, I mean, that's fine too.
Yeah.
So as it appears, the consultative vote would be for Berlin.
Yeah, that's quite evident.
In my mind, I think it should remain Berlin. It makes things too complicated. As it is right now, it seems that this is a kind of trajectory that too many. We have to realize that we are living in a situation where we don't understand what's going to happen in another week in general, and I think that it adds to the pressure here. Yeah. And I wouldn't open a doodle, etc. I think it just complicates things. I think the trajectory is quite clear, and I think that it makes sense. And anyway, anybody who wants to visit here is more than invited. We can organize it separately.
Okay. So so we still have to think whether we should do a doodle or not. But since we now said, and I think that is what Clara said, I think is really very convincing to at least show that we include also people from overseas and those people who couldn't join, that they still have a chance to give a vote. Although we probably are, supposedly it will be Berlin.
Yeah, it's almost Einstimmung again.
Yeah.
But of course with exceptions. And
For the sake of easy, I think it would make more sense to have a doodle basic saying, do you, we wish to meet in Berlin, do you agree or do disagree? But not, I don't know, it makes more sense.
Okay. So I would prepare a doodle and ask whether they would agree or disagree with Berlin. So, okay. So next topic on the agenda. So we also want to discuss the topics we would like to concentrate on next year. So we have several suggestions, and I will send them around in the chat. And so you already have an idea and say a bit about it. So yes, what Clara said, we could again concentrate on religion and ecology, kind of on this interface. But we also thought that since we have a panel on that this year in Helsinki, we might kind of shift a bit the focus as well. And so I wrote it down: religion and utopia. I don't know. I think it's really in the air, the idea of utopian thoughts, or we could even say futurist ideas in religion. Then religion and social movement. And that is only because I thought about the fact that, for instance, like in East German times, that the church served as a habitat for some counterculture movements, such as the gay and lesbian movement, the peace movement, and so on and so forth. And I think that, like, in a historical perspective, as well as a contemporary perspective, that could be a very interesting kind of, interrelation to look at, also to show then again. But I think that kind of topic we had already, religion and politics, but social movement again shifts a bit the focus to more grassroots. Okay, then we had as well religion and violence. Maybe there was just the situation, like the time when we thought of it, the way the world presented itself to us. So let's discuss these topics, and maybe you have another idea, and so let's exchange opinions on it. Personally, I think that religion and utopia or dystopia for me is kind of favorite. Since, as I said, I noticed that kind of the idea, how do we want to live and how does the future will look like, is so much in the air now, and it's so much discussed that we could put in like even ecology and other aspects. And so my vote actually would be for the first topic.
Like religious utopias and dystopias.
Yes.
Yeah, I mean, they're all very interesting, obviously. But I think I would also go for this one. Mm-hmm.
I mean, we didn't work out any abstract, since we also want to open the floor for your ideas and associations.
Mm-hmm.
So, or any other idea?
Well, I think it's a bit complicated to discuss this properly by these few words sent to us by chat. For many people, it's the first time they see this, so I can imagine it's a bit complicated now to have a proper discussion on it. But well, maybe we should have some worked out abstracts which everyone can study and reflect on.
Okay.
Or
I think this is something that the board could, since it seems that it's very abstract and it's something that has to be really discussed properly, it would make sense to ask the board to come to a decision on the topic and then suggest it to the group. I think we need a deliberative kind of conversation. It's not just who is in favor of A, B, or C. We need to.
No, because already 2 board members have expressed a favorite among them. So I think that doesn't open the discussion either. So, well, we should open up it more, I think. And so maybe also do it, in another meeting, because we have now this online instrument, so the board could prepare something with different variations, and then we have a sort of informal conference topic meeting in between, in which we can discuss it more properly.
Yeah, so
I'd like to have some input from other members of the group, because mostly the board members are talking. So feel free to take the floor, new members or older new members or whatever, to join in on this. What do you think? Carolina, what do you think about this?
Hello, good morning, everyone from Helsinki. To me, basically, I kind of agree it's a bit difficult perhaps to comment on these topics, because they can be so vast. And to me, the region and utopia or dystopia sounds very interesting. As Victoria said, it's kind of like bubbling under, I think, at some level here in Finland as well, perhaps. So I think that would also give a good opportunity to kind of like to be to provide some contemporary visions and topics into the discussion. But then again, I also see quite on the other topics as well, there are so many possibilities. So I think whatever we choose, I think it's a really good choice or option.
Mm-hmm.
They are all not only interesting, but also very wide. So every kind of things can be put in. That's also good, but a bit confusing or intimidating in a way.
So why don't we do it this way? That at the board, and I even could take up the responsibility for it, to write out an abstract, a very short abstract for every topic that you see here. And in the middle of July, I will send around those abstracts, and then we could again have a kind of unofficial meeting and discuss it, or either vote for one of the topics.
You know, Victoria, this way we're gonna make things a bit more complicated. In a way, it's a great idea, but in the past there was just a discussion during the last day of the conference,
Mm-hmm.
and the topic was basically chosen there in a discussion like this one.
Mm-hmm.
I don't really see any crucial reason to change this methodology now. As Danny said, at some point we do this consultation, and then a decision must be made. And if we start sending emails over and getting responses and then getting commentaries, it's gonna be a never-ending story, and we're not gonna get anywhere probably, or anytime soon. Maybe let's put it to vote again here, or just we take into consideration the opinions of the other members and then decide within the board.
Yes.
A consultation.
And let's do it this way.
I don't know. It's just I'm just suggesting, but I think the consultation and deliberation method, it's easier and more effective.
So let's see. So as you heard, we very much go for religion and utopia and dystopia. But well, if you have other ideas, we either So we could write, so then please say it. And otherwise we would write out a kind of abstract for religion and utopia, and that's it.
Sorry, I had my mute on. Just one thing. It is true that very often the abstract for the topic of the conference is actually written not only by board people, but by the local conveners. So that means that we need to, you know, it has to be something done in collaboration, I think. With the, so we have to, it depends on on the place we choose if we do confirm Berlin.
Well, in this case, there would be a fortunate coincidence that these two would be embodied in Victoria, especially being the convener of the conference and also the chair of the group. So that would also make things easier in these respects, if Berlin was the final choice, of course.
So let's wait what the doodle says, and afterwards we could decide. We could write out an abstract, send it around.
If I may, just Victoria, add something small, as people are not talking too much, because I like actually indeed all the topics, and in a way, I also agree that it was always the local committee, and if Berlin is the local committee, it means you. And indeed, maybe if you prepare this general description, indeed the utopia, dystopia might be more like inclusive in terms of 3 other topics, because social movements are so much connected with, you know, the ideals of the future. Ecology is such a futuristic issue nowadays also, and violence is also, you know, part of those discussions. So maybe if you, when writing your proposal, you just include somehow those suggestions. Well, as far as I remember our previous working group conferences, actually the topics were quite broad, and I remember I was somehow, how can I fit my research into that topic? And usually people were pretty successful in finding their way. So yeah, just small comment.
So then let's do it this way. So we just wait for the vote for Berlin or Jerusalem, so through Doodle, and afterwards I would write, like we together on the board would write out, probably, or very sure, on the first topic, religion, utopia and dystopia, an abstract, and work on it. Okay. So let's move on to the next topic. And the next topic would be actually also probably the last topic, no? If you don't agree. But maybe we have a small introduction of everybody. So, because I also don't know everybody, and so that we hear the voice and know what he or she is working on. So let's start a little round. And so I could ask who wants to go first, but I also could just, you know, see the way you appear on my screen, and then
Victoria, you know, just use the order on your screen, otherwise it's too messy.
Yeah. So Peter Jan, you are the first. I'm sorry.
Well, I'm Peter Jan Margrie from Amsterdam, the Netherlands. I'm already a long-standing member of this working group. I'm working at the Meertens Institute, which is a national academic institution for dialectology and ethnology. Apart from that, I have a chair in European ethnology at the University of Amsterdam, and my main research topics deal with religiosity and cultural heritage and cultural memory and such kind of things. But if you Google my name, then you can find more information if you're interested. So I leave it to this. Thank you.
Thank you, Peter Jan. And then I have Irina Sedakova.
Hello, everyone. I work in the Institute for Slavic Studies for many years. I got my 2 degrees from the Moscow State University on Slavic and Balkan ethnolinguistics, which is a combination of linguistics, folklore, and ethnology. My major subjects are almost everything in the patriarchal culture, which is family cycle, calendric rituals, all the prescriptions, etc., etc. I am a co-chair for many years for the working group of the ritual year, and I'm a member of this group since 1994 from the previous century, and I have been to many conferences, which I admire a lot. Thank you for this meeting. There are many quotations and whatever on my work on the site of the Institute for Slavic Studies. And today we are having our meeting of the ritual year working group, and everybody who is willing to join us is very welcome. Irina Stahl, who is the secretary, is available here as well. So please join us. We have very active and interesting research and meetings. Thank you.
Mm-hmm. Thank you. Marina.
Hi. Marina Hasiuk. I'm historian and European ethnologist. I'm working at the Catholic University in Ingolstadt, Germany, and at the Universidad Autónoma de Barcelona. My research interests were migration, religion, and identity. And now we are working on the topic of the tarot spirit and the meaning of knowledge or so knowledge. And
we can't hear you.
No?
Mm-mm. Now we can hear you again, but say something.
Hi.
Hi.
You can hear me?
Yeah. Now we can hear you again.
Okay. And yes, we try to make an ethnographic approach in this new project, and that's all.
Thank you, Marina. Art. Later.
Yes.
Well, it would be your turn. Maybe you can introduce yourself with some words.
Okay. I am professor of ethnology at the University of Tartu, Estonia, and I study indigenous groups in Western Siberia and Russian North. And my topics have been related to animism in Western Siberia and Russian Orthodox developments in Komi Republic, and also Protestant missions in Komi Republic. Perhaps that's it.
Thank you so much. Susanna.
Hello, everybody. I'm from the Czech Republic. I'm more sociologist of religion than anthropologist of religion. I'm part of Alessandro's project of reenchantment in Central and Eastern Europe. I'm also a lecturer at the University of Pardubice. I did my PhD research on Buddhism in France and in the Czech Republic in the context of consumer culture. And nowadays I work on managerial discourses and practices, and the religious dimension in Slovakia.
Thank you. Tobias.
Welcome, everybody. Sorry for being so late. I joined you in Central European time, so I didn't pay attention that it is also in every of these events is in Helsinki time. Sorry. Okay, my name is Tobias Körner. I did my habilitation research on the interrelation between politics and religion, in particular Russian Orthodox Christianity. Finished the project and published a book which came out this year. And now in my post-habil phase, so to speak, I'm looking how the family behind family firms is established. And in particular, I'm interested in these narratives and rituals, how this kinship group is established, and religion plays a role in this project as well. And yeah, so I now start to establish my own team. Thank you.
Thank you. Laszlo.
Hi, hello. I'm Laszlo Koppancsai from Hungary, and I made my PhD studies combining discourse analysis with cognitive semantic methods and the long-term participant observation of new religious groups, even neo-pagan movements and Christian Pentecostal movements in the Carpathian Basin from Romania to Serbia, from Hungary to Slovakia, and so on. And now I'm working for the Film EU European Union project that is an interdisciplinary project for establishing a film and media university in the European Union level as a consortium of several national universities. And I'm also a board member of the Young Scholars Working Group at the SIEF. So we will have a working group meeting this afternoon because we had a choice to choose the time schedule for the working group meeting. And we choose the afternoon just exactly for that reasons. But Alessandro also explained that the morning time is not so suitable for most of us, or for some of us who lives in Western Europe or Iceland or so on. So I am working with as a social anthropologist, long-term participant observation amongst new religious groups, and my conclusions are built not only my experiences as emotions, but also I wanted to transfer my data and my archives into some sort of numerization process. It is a kind of just a play, a creative play with numbers, but I even though stay with the qualitative analysis. Okay, thanks.
Thank you. Mare. Yeah, Mare.
Sorry, it's me, yes.
Yeah.
I'm working as a head of a department of folkloristics, but at the same time, I'm a head of a Center of Excellence in Estonian Studies. We have a small but very good company who is investigating religious studies, mostly sacred places, a bit the same topics as art, animism, and also I mentioned the mythology. I mean, it means that the questions about vernacular transmission of myths and apocrypha motives from biblical literature, which are very interesting and also widespread, also in contemporary times in Estonia, but also in Balkans. I'm doing my fieldwork mostly in Estonia and in Bulgaria. I think these are the main directions of our working group. I myself turned back to healing with words and prayers. And at the same time, I'm working with etiologies and connections with different official churches, mainly Orthodox, but also Protestant, and kind of, yes, with some new religious groups. So thank you.
Thank you. Carolina?
Yes, hello, I'm Karolina Kouvola. I'm doing my PhD studies here at the University of Helsinki at the Religious Studies, and my focus is on Swedish-speaking Ostrobothnia in Finland and the vernacular belief narratives about, especially on witchcraft and vernacular healing. And I'm also interested in how these narratives have kind of like formed the basis of heritage. So kind of like what is the discussion on what is heritage and what isn't, and how it is built through archival studies and archival research. So those are my main interests, and this is my first time here at the working group, and it has been a pleasure to meet you all, even online. So it has been a really interesting and enchanting discussion.
Very warm welcome, and thank you so much. Thank you. Danny.
Hi, everybody.
I cannot hear you very well.
My name is Danny. I'm a folklorist at the Hebrew University. Can you hear me?
Now we can hear you. Yeah.
Shall I move? No. Yeah, my name is.
Now we don't hear you
just a minute. Let me move a little. Find a better spot. Anyway. Can you hear me better?
Yes, we can.
Okay. So my name is Danny. I'm a folklorist at the Hebrew University with an appointment in the Folklore and Folklore Culture Program and Cultural Studies. I do various things, but for this group, I would say that 20 years ago, I studied the Camino de Santiago, or actually the reanimation of the Camino de Santiago, but that was a long time ago. And these days, I have a very large collection of postcards that I'm in charge of the Holy Land. And the imagination of the Holy Lands in postcards, which is a kind of a religious and political kind of imagination, is something that I investigate these days. So that's it.
Thank you, Danny. Tenno.
Yes, hello everybody.
We cannot hear you.
Everybody, it's very nice to be here. I'm actually at this working group at Santiago. Yes, I'm from Estonia and I'm a PhD student of ethnology at the University of Tartu. And my main interests are material religion, new spirituality, and commerce of religion and spirituality. And my PhD project, I'm researching the use of crystals and the commerce of crystals in esoteric shops in Estonia. And that's all.
Mm-hmm. Thank you so much, Clara.
Sorry, I had to unmute myself. So hello, everyone. So I'm also already an old member, of course, not as old in the board as Peter Jan or our oldest members, which of course are Anders Gustafsson, I see him there, and Maria Santa, whom I don't see here today. But those are they're probably the two top elderly members and long-standing members of our working group, also with Leonardo Primiano, who is of course in the States, so he's not here today either. But I joined the board, the group in 2008 in the CF Congress in Londonderry, when I also entered the board. Then I was in the board of SIEF from 2008 until 2017. I was first in the board, and then I was a vice president together with Peter Jan from 2013 to 2017. So I've been involved with SIEF for a long time now, and it's always a pleasure. And while I work on religion and ritual, of course, a lot in West Africa, as you can probably see from the photo in my background that I had to use for a congress I was in, actually a talk on my work in Africa, and now I cannot take it out. I'm technologically very bad, so you still have the photos of my wrapped bodies from my field work, but they are my photos, so it's okay. I don't have to give anyone the rights of author, so they're there. Anyway, so I work on that, but I've also worked a lot on heritage and religion, and the combination of heritage and religion, especially in the EU project that where I was PI of the Portuguese team together with Anna and other countries, which was a pleasure also. And that's basically what I do. So I'm a researcher. I also teach basically, religion-related disciplines, but not only. And as I said, it's been really a pleasure to be in SIEF all these years. And it's very nice to see every year that we have a working group meeting or a congress that new people come in and, some people step out. But I think it's good. It keeps the group, it gives it a pace, and it keeps it alive and dynamic. And I think that's very good. And I was just last week, in the past months, writing a chapter for a book that is coming out in Italy about the history of ethnology and anthropology in the different European countries. So I was writing about Portugal, of course. And it was so interesting because, as you probably know, when CF started, Jorge Dias, one of, our Portuguese ancestor for modern anthropology, was one of the first secretaries. At the time, it was not the president, it was the secretary of CF. So I feel so proud also to still, have this Portuguese tradition within CF. So that's it. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Clara. Morgana.
So good morning, good afternoon, wherever you are. I'm first of all, I'm based in the Netherlands, not far from Amsterdam, actually near to Utrecht. I've been involved with CF actually via the working group, the Ritual Year, since about 2012. I was interested in this working group, so I joined actually in the discussion in Santiago de Compostela a couple of years ago. What's my background? At the moment, my background is pagan. I'm involved, or a Wiccan priestess, as they call it, or Wiccan elder. So I've contributed to the working group, the Ritual Year, in my capacity as practitioner, because I'm not actually an academic. So I'm actually a practitioner. So I always say I'm the resident witch. So Irina and both Irinas know me quite well. My interest at the moment is actually interfaith. I do a lot of work in interfaith. I was elected global trustee for United Religions Initiative. So I work globally. And I just wrote to Art that I'm extremely involved in Indigenous people, ecology, environmental issues, and many other things, actually. But the reason that I like being with the SIEF conferences is actually that I learn a lot more about the cultural aspects of, in this case, religion. So I think it's incredibly important that I, as a practitioner, also I am involved, in what's happening in the academic world. So that's my background. So if anybody wants to know anything about interfaith and at the moment, I see the interfaith movement as a movement rather than something that's just, here for a moment. But I always point out to people, there is a huge difference between interfaith and multi-faith. So I'm trying to encourage people to understand that interfaith itself is something which is very active, and we are trying to deal with many issues which are often based in the freedom that we haven't got to choose our religion. So that's one of the fights I'm actually working for at the moment, the right to choose your own religion. There you go. That's my background. Nice to see you all.
Nice to see you, Morgana. Thank you. Now this is so often switching my screen. Irina.
Hello, everybody. I'm a full-time researcher at the Romanian Academy of Sciences in Bucharest at the Institute of Sociology. So I am a sociologist. I also studied, did a master in history and another one in social sciences. So I'm not, generally I don't use quantitative methodologies as most of sociologists do. So I'm more into kind of an ethnological approach to fieldwork, I guess. My studies are generally interdisciplinary, so it's difficult to say. But I think my background would be the Romanians, the Bucharest School of Sociology in between the two world wars, who had this interdisciplinary approach and who generally worked within groups of researchers from different disciplines. So I think I'm more inspired by them than by the current sociological approach nowadays. So I've been with the folk religion group since 2013 and the conferences in Lisbon. I'm also the secretary of the Ritual Year Working Group, as you already heard, since 2014. And I've learned a lot while being with them and being challenged to do all kinds of things. So I'm very grateful for that. And this year I've been nominated for the SIEF board, which I'm also grateful for. So you'll probably have to vote for me later on. I am working on, since 2010, I'm into religious studies. I work on folk religion, mainly Orthodoxy, as 80% of people in Romania are Orthodox. And with more precisely what's going on, I'm paying attention to what's going on in Bucharest or in urban environments in general. And my topics, I've studied relics, and I'm interested in relics, saints, processions, pilgrimages, and also roadside memorials. I've been studying that topic since a while now. So that studies in general would be something that's of interest for me. So that's about it, I think. Thank you.
Thank you. Now I have on my screen Agata.
Okay, hello everyone. Greetings from Prague. My name is Agata Ładykowska. I come from Poland, and I'm a social anthropologist interested in anthropology of Christianity, especially Eastern Christianity, relations between religion and politics, post-socialism, morality, multiple secularities. And I'm new to the group, and I'm very pleased to see you and to meet you. Although I do see very many familiar faces. Together with Tobias, we received our PhD from Germany, and we were in one cohort conducting research on Russia. Currently, I'm based in Prague with Alessandro, Susanna, and Istvan, and we are in the Reenchantment project. So thank you.
Thank you. Thank you and welcome. Anders.
So, I am Anders Gustafsson, ethnologist, and I was a member of this working group from the beginning. We began in Bergen in Norway, a SIEF Congress 1990, and I was the chair during the 1990s. And I am glad to have been in all these conferences, and I also know many of you since many years. I have written especially about folk religion in Scandinavia. On 2012, I edited this book, Folk Religion in Scandinavia. After that, in the 2010s, I have also studied for example, charismatic new movements, and also older revival movements, Pentecostal movements. I studied death and religion, and religion in coastal regions in Western Sweden and so on. I have been professor in Uppsala in Sweden. I also now senior professor in Oslo in Norway, and we have many projects also between Sweden and Norway. Now, because of the pandemic, the border is closed between Sweden and Norway. I am living in Bohuslän in Western Sweden, so it is near to Oslo, but the border is totally closed. So there is a problem. But yes, so I can also say that our founder, Nils Arvid Bringeus, he completed his 95th anniversary this year, and he is not so healthy any longer, but he can also say some words to you to congratulate that we have been working in 30 years in this working group with many people. I will remember also him. He was my mentor. So I began my religion studies in Lund already in the 1970s. So thank you for this. And I will speak about a new study about alcohol, on the view of alcohol in religious movements. So I will speak about that next week. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Anders. István.
Hello everyone, I'm István Povedák from Hungary, actually now from Prague. For a long time
we thought so. I'm sorry.
So for a long time I was affiliated with the University of Szeged in Hungary, but in the past 3 years I managed to change, and now I work for the coolest and most modern university in Hungary called Moholy-Nagy University of Art and Design at Budapest. So it's really a cool place. And currently I'm affiliated with the Charles University in Prague. So as you heard many times, I work in Alessandro's research group as well. Well, I've been member of this Ethnology of Religion working group since my childhood, and in the ancient times, I've served as the co-chair of this working group together with Anna as well. That was far before the pandemic time. So my field interests or my research interests include the intermingles of neo-nationalism and new religious movements in Hungary, especially ethnic paganism and UFO culture, and Slavic culture and Romani culture as well. Thank you.
Thank you, István. Mircea.
Yeah, hi everybody. It's great to be with you. Greetings from Iași, from northern Romania. So I've been a member of SIEF, of this research group, since 2019, from the last Congress in Santiago de Compostela. So yes, I teach in the Faculty of Letters. I teach ethnology and folklore. I did a PhD in demonology, working on the representations of the devil in Romanian imagination. But for several years now, I've been working on ethnology and power, this relationship in the Romanian and southeastern space, but also on material religion. So yeah, and I've been presenting something also about relics. A lot of scholars about relics, so it's great. Thank you.
Thank you, Anna.
Okay, so hello everyone. So I'm Anna Niedźwiedź, and I work as an associate professor at the Institute of Ethnology and Cultural Anthropology at the Jagiellonian University in Kraków, Poland. So as far as I remember, I joined the working group in 2011 at Lisbon, yes, so 10 years ago, but I'm not sure. And I served as a board member for, I think, few years, as a secretary, then as a co-chair. I'm cultural anthropologist working on anthropology of religion, especially on the Roman Catholic Church and the lived Catholicism, but also I work on urban studies, urban anthropology, and religious heritages and how they are being constructed and negotiated. Geographically, I work in Poland. That's one leg is in Poland, the other one is in West Africa, Ghana. And currently I work on a project on gender identities, so women within the Catholic Church in African Christianity, with a special focus on Catholic women in Ghana. So thank you.
Thank you, Anna. And Thorsten.
Hello, everyone. My name is Thorsten Wettig. I work at the University of Bremen, and you could also summarize my research interest in religion, migration, and identity, as I have studied the Kurdish Yazidi minority moving from Iraq and other places to Lower Saxony, Germany. And now I switch my interest to Lutheran congregations in the United States of America, Brazil, and Namibia. That's supposed to be my habilitation project. I've been in the working group for some 8 years now and elected secretary 4 years ago. Nice to meet you all.
Thank you, Thorsten. So I think that's the round. Yeah, thank you so much. Maybe I did my research, my habilitation research on neo-pagan witches in Berlin. You know, the interplay between urbanity and new spirituality. And Berlin is also supposedly the city with the highest density of witches in all of Central Europe. So, I mean, you know, Berlin has this habit to claim all the superlatives for itself and never prove it. But still, so I did this research and now I have 2 new projects. Actually, I got the funding for it. And the one is on, spiritual ecologies. And I focus on New Age Judaism, particularly on the Jewish renewal movement in Berlin and in the US, because that's where it originated. And well, I haven't started yet because of the pandemic, but the good thing is that I actually can travel to the US next year, hopefully, and do this research. And that's what I'm really looking forward to. So,
Victoria, can you, since some of us like me forgot to say that we are in the board, could you just quickly say the names of the people that are in the board so that the others know? And also, I forgot to say I'm in the University of Lisbon. Everybody said university, I forgot, but I'm Portuguese. I'm in the University of Lisbon. Okay.
Yes, the board members. You probably noticed is Alessandro Testa now. Is Anna Nichwich. And no, it's not anymore. No, you stepped down. I'm terribly sorry. Well, but it is Alessandro Testa, Peter Jan Magri, Thorsten Wettig, and Clara. Yeah, I'm so nervous. I forgot your last name. So these are the board members.
Okay.
So whenever you feel to have to write to us and we keep conversation.
Victoria, just maybe also remind everyone, we are having 2 panels, plus there is also Istvan's panel. Yeah. So you are all welcome. Some of you are presenting within our official working group panels, but of course, please join us and for discussions if we have time, because they are so packed.
You know, it would be good for the people who have the panels to just state here what time it is, the panels in the day. And also, I have a very practical question. Please, Victoria, tell me how you got this link, because yesterday I was looking for links in Wova and I could not find them. How did you get this link? How do we get the links to the panels?
Oh, that is actually quite easy. You just have to download the Ruva app, and then you go to the agenda, and then you go to the schedule, and then you go to the session you want to join, and then you just press the Zoom link.
Okay, I was okay. Thank you. I was looking in the wrong spot. I was not going to the agenda. Okay, that's easy. But can you guys please state what time are your panels so that everybody knows?
Well, so I'm speaking for the panel of Peter, Jan, and mine. It is on the 22nd, and it starts at 2:00 and it ends at 6:00. 2 sessions.
This is 2 p.m. Helsinki time, right?
Yes, it's always, we talking about always from now on in Helsinki time. So that's
and the Thorsten's and so-called mine and Thorsten panel on rule and bodies in religious context. You're very welcome to join us on Thursday. The first session is at 10 o'clock and the second at 2 o'clock Helsinki time. Yes, Thorsten? I think so, yeah. We are having 11 panelists in total, so.
Wow, thank you so much for being here, joining our meeting. I mean, at the end, I have to ask: are there any other things to mention and to say and to comment on?
I want to just raise a point. I know we don't have a lot of time. We have 5 minutes, right? Because we are scheduled until 10:15, right? Well, not 10:15. I'm talking about Portuguese time. Forget it. Anyway, my only thing that I wanted to mention is bringing up the issue of the working group on religion, series that we are been putting out with Lit Verlag. As you know, we are now on the 3rd volume that now Alessandro and Tobias are putting together. And me and Pitayana are sort of the editors of this series. And I think it's actually going pretty well in the sense that I remember in Derry, the working group had no volume being edited. We had the very scattered, findings of conferences or whatever you want to call them, of conferences, but not really a publication with a known editor. So I think we've come a good way in the sense that at least we managed to have a book published by a widely known publisher, Lit Verlag. And, we've been doing it every 3-4 years, which is not bad. We generally use papers from congresses or CF group meetings, the working group meetings. But we've also been accepting sometimes papers from the outside. And it's just to remind everybody that we have this, that I think it's a good output of the working group and that we should keep on fighting towards the accomplishment of these volumes. And I think if this year we do manage to, Alessandro and Tobias managed to put this one out, it's great. And I think we should, keep going. So the next, this panels for this year might be a proposition for a new volume. It's just a suggestion. Thank you.
Thank you. Wow. So thank you again for joining today. And then let's have a great conference in Digital Helsinki. Looking forward to see you all again during this time. And also afterwards, of course.
Yeah, it would be much better to be able to drink a beer in Helsinki.
Well,
together,
so true, but no chance.
Sorry, okay. Victoria. I think we still have 2 minutes. Perhaps someone else wants to get the floor and add something to the discussion and use the last 2 minutes. Is there anybody willing to say anything?
No one wants to talk anymore.
So we have an early closing. But anyway, so
maybe let's say thank you for the organization and for most of us.
Thank you very much.
Yeah, thank you, Victoria.
Okay. As well. Yeah, thank you, and okay, so see you soon and during the next days, almost every day.
Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Nice weekend.
I close.
Thank you, Victoria. Bye-bye.
Thank you, Victoria.
Bye.
Bye-bye. Bye-bye, everybody. Bye-bye.